and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Quieten down, please. Thank you.
Is it starting?
Right, okay, thank you for your time and thank you for coming. I would appreciate if you are listening and being respectful. Thank you. Okay, I have the honour of introducing the founder of Islamic Relief and CEO of Islamic Relief, Dr. Hani Al-Banna, who founded Islamic Relief, the charity. It started in Birmingham on the 17th of January 1984, and it has across the years, over the years, it has spread over and now exists in over 42 countries. And the purpose of Islamic Relief is to serve the needy worldwide. And I also have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Rashid Campbell, who is the fundraising officer for West Midlands and Wales. Did I get that correct? Okay, right. I'll hand over to them, and they will be speaking about history and genocide. They'll be speaking about persecution of Muslims throughout history and covering present day as well. Thank you for listening. Over to you, Dr. Hani.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon. Good afternoon, isn't it? Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm not going to talk about only genocide against Muslims, because I don't want you to feel that I make you pity to see what happened to us. But genocide in general, to Muslims, to Jews, to Christians in the history. Because our aim is to stop genocide happening to any community, whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim. Let me start by thanking the three women who helped me to prepare this presentation. Sometimes you make something when you love to make it. There's a proverb in English, love what you do to do what you love. So those three women who helped me to make the presentation, they love to make the presentation to you. So when sometime you have guests coming to your house and you like them or you love them, you put your love into the cooking or to the reception. Is that right? I want an reaction, right or wrong? Anyway, those who have not seen yesterday, they have to realize today. This is a message for you. It's a message for you. If you have not seen the past, you have to realize the current affair around you to build tomorrow. Because none of us in this room going to go out without making himself or herself a leader. You are one of the future leaders. And this is my dream for every young group that I talk to them, to try to empower them, to make them one day to become the leaders of the community. Tomorrow's foundation, to build tomorrow's foundation and write the history of the future. You can be not the history teller, but the history maker. If you know, how can you make history? If we know, how can we make history? This is very important at this age, and before this age, we should realize that we can be the history maker. We can be the future leaders. You believe in this or not? If you don't believe in this, you will be like anybody else. Just a number, just a figure, just a shadow, just a nothing. And this is actually my message to every young group that I meet with them. This is the index for my talk. By the way, I did not introduce myself. I was a medical doctor, graduated from Al-Azhar University in Cairo in 1976. Got my Doctor of Medicine as MD or PhD from Birmingham Medical School in 1991. Got my OBE from the late Queen in 2004, and my honorary doctorate from Birmingham University in 2009. And we started Islamic Relief with 20 pence from a young child at the age of 9. Now, Islamic Relief globally raises hundreds of millions of pounds annually from the very humble start of 20 pence with no office, no staff, nothing. Young school students like yourself and university students in 1983, 84, 85, 86 who helped us in Birmingham actually to build this organization for the last 42 years. So history, power, and violence is the first point. We know in the past, I'm not going to curse or not curse anybody. I'm not going to ask you something as well. I will leave a lot of questions for you to answer later on, because I'm just not going to be an orator or a singer or somebody a storyteller. No, we have as a student to realize if we want to understand more, we have to read. We have to read. We have to read. My challenge nowadays is with the AI and with ChatGPT. I don't use them and I will never use them because I'm trying to maintain my intellectual capability to write, to read, and to understand, to dwell, to comprehend, and to produce. I don't want a machine to keep producing something for me. This is myself. Crusades and Knight Templars, we know in the past, but I'm not going to talk about it. What happened in Jerusalem, here and there, the years and the number of massacres and whatever it is. This is not my cup of tea, because when I talk about the past, I pass through it to look at the current affair so we can make the future together. Baghdad fall, the Mongol in 1258. It was the center of universe at that time, center of civilization. Center of civilization. When the Mongol came there, they burned all the libraries, throw the books, hundreds of thousands of books into the river Tigray till the color of the river become black. Hundreds of thousands of people were killed and others. My question for you now is not just keep listening, but you have to act later on. Search for the fall of Baghdad and the end of the Abbasi Caliphate. Search for the role of the Mughal. Hulaku, we call him in Arabic Hulaku, but in English is Hulagu with G. Khan, what he did to the people of Baghdad at the time. Baghdad was more powerful, was more advanced, was more civilized than any current capital on earth nowadays at that time. It used to have hundreds and hundreds of reading libraries with millions and millions of copies of books and transcripts. They destroyed the House of Wisdom and they killed the Caliph there, the Caliph which is supposed to be called the king. How did Spanish treat the indigenous people in the America after Christopher Columbus or before Christopher Columbus as well? After the Spanish arrival to the Americas, many indigenous societies disappeared, reduced. The number, from one of the historians said, you used to have people, 100 million people. Within 1 century, they became 20 or 30 million people, unfortunately. My ask to you now, look and read the Aztec and the Inca civilization. Inca civilization was one of the most advanced civilization on earth at that time, neck to neck with the ancient Egyptian civilization. And other. This is you. If you want to understand what's happening, you have to read. You have to read. Nothing is for free. You have to read. What happened to Muslims and Jews after the fall of Andalus, which is Spain, actually, in the hand of Ferdinando and Isabella, queen and king. Look into the year 1492, Spanish Inquisition, migration of Jews and Muslims. You know where the Jews went to? 50,000 Jews went to Turkey nowadays, which is at that time the Ottoman Empire at that time. Because they had the safety, they were living in peace in Andalusia, which is Spain. Then when actually the fall of Andalusia, they went actually to what we call it Turkey nowadays. The Inquisition. Do you know anything about the Inquisition courts? Any answer? You laugh. You smile. You crack jokes. You know the Inquisition courts? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody knows? Anybody knows? This is one of the most important point actually in the history of humanity. Actually, started in France in 1184, then spread. Unfortunately, it was like the Inquisition was anybody was attacking the church or giving something a different opinion, they will deal with him in a very bad way. I don't want to attack any church anyway, but anyway, this is a part of the history. And it is started in the 13th century and abolished at 1834. Why I mentioned this one? 180 soldiers came with Francisco Pizarro to Peru nowadays. They came friendly. So the people of the country welcomed them. But they had another actually plan for them. And they occupied them. The 180 were just not friendly soldiers. They were trained killers and murderers. And they ended the Inca civilization, which I mentioned it before, actually at the beginning, was the Inca and Aztec civilization. King Leopold II and Congo. You know DRC? Anybody know Democratic Republic of Congo? Speak up. Hey, second floor. Speak up. I brought this one with me. Why did I bring this one with me? To comb my hair. You got hair like my hair? Speak up. DRC. Anybody know about Democratic Republic of Congo? It is the wealthiest, the richest country in Africa, but the stolen country of Africa. Rich in land, water, agriculture, minerals, everything. 5 million internally displaced people. The highest rate of rape of girls and young boys in the DRC. It is a scar on the face of humanity. And many companies from Europe and America are taking the raw material from Congo, from these armed groups. 85 to 90 armed groups controlling Congo. Leopold II, how many people he killed? It's between 10 and 15 million. I'm not talking about Muslims. I'm talking about human beings. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about individuals who take the advantage because they have authority and they have the power, and they give themselves the right to kill and actually to kill people and destroy countries. And you know, some of the Africans are not as active or energetic like us here in Europe. That's a bit lazy, isn't it? The lazy African Congolese. If you look at the history of Congo, about the same number have their hands cut off because it's a sign of laziness by King Leopold II. And this was not done against Muslims. Even the Tsar of Russia, they did not do it only to Muslims, they do it to everybody. Stalin, when Stalin came, actually before 1937, during his time, 3 million people were killed. 3 million people were killed. World War One, World War Two. Have you heard about them? I think you have to be interactive because I'm just surrounded by these tables. Otherwise, I could have come to you, sir. Come stand next to me. Don't be shy. One day, anybody come stand next to me. Are you seriously? Are we in England? Are we in Birmingham? People are shy. Come on. We lost 10 to 15 million in the First World War. And we lost 70 to 85 million in the Second World War. For what? For the people who thought that they have authority. They can do what they can. Nobody can make them accountable. Nearly 100 million in 2 wars. How much Europe actually lost in lives, destroying of factories and future of Europe and other countries. Those kind of people thought that they have the power that they can manipulate anybody, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. Patrice Lumumba was the first elected prime minister of Congo. When he wanted to stand up for freedom of Congo, freedom of Africa, freedom of man, he was killed. Then they dissolved his body, and nobody can find the remains of his body up till now. And Patrice was one of the Congolese. We have Muslim victims as well. But as I said earlier on, I'm not talking here about Muslims. I'm talking about human being. I'm talking about life of human being, the creation of God. We have problems in India, Kashmir, in India. We have problems with Central African Republic since 2013. We have problems, ethnic cleansing to the Uyghur, of which we call it in English, or East Turkestan, or Xinjiang. We have problem with the Rohingya in Myanmar. We have problem also in Gaza and Palestine. So when you look at this, it's happening to everybody. Those power monger, we have to stop them. We don't want any more adults to come back again to our society. I'm not going to talk too much because I'm not going to cry for Gaza or for Palestine. I'm not going to cry. Stop shedding the tears and make the action. We kept crying. What after crying? You have to act, you have to build, you have to connect, you have to protect, not just keep crying and feel pity for yourself and your community. Very strange. The museum of 18,000 skulls, most of them from Africa. What is this? What kind of civilization and civilized people are like that? People are very proud. They get skulls from Morocco, from Libya, from Algeria, from Mali, from other places, and with the name and the history. What is this? Is this civilization? If this is humanity? If this is the feeling of being brothers and sisters to another? No. This is happening in the city of culture in Paris. You can visit it if you want. Another one in Spain, the instrument of torture. What God? For God's sake, showing us how they were torturing others. And I will read one or two instruments for you. Flesh tearing devices. Can you imagine and they call them things kings and queens and civilized people. Spiked chairs. Feel it. Feel at that time when innocent people like us were sitting on these spiked chairs or on these actually flesh tearing devices. Feel the pain and the agony of the children and the women and the men at that time. Stretching and bone breaking tools. I feel it's very painful just to read it. How about the cries and the tears of the people who used to be stretched? Iron cages. It's museum. It's still in the museum. And people are still not burying it or demolishing or removing it. Still being very proud to have this. Psychological humiliation methods. What is this? We are all from Adam. And Adam was created from clay. We are not different to one another. Black and white. Short and tall. Brown and yellow. Educated or uneducated. We are equal. We are equal. Your genes is exactly like my genes. I've got 23 chromosomes. How many chromosomes you have? Oh, now it's biology. How many chromosomes you have? Hey, I don't know what to say. I used to be a medical doctor, that I know all this. Anyway, I used to work in City Hospital. You know City Hospital and Queen Elizabeth Hospital? Second point in my talk is religion, belief, and theology. Religion, belief, and theology. Okay? A question to you, brothers and sisters. Is Zionism the same as Christianity? I'm not going to answer because I don't know. I'm asking you. What are the characteristics or the criteria of the chosen people? You have to answer it. It's not me. Because we have a lot of terminology that we don't know what does it mean. Okay? In our religion, I just brought my book. You can get the Bible, the Torah, the Talmud, and all this. We do not make any distinction, actually, in faith. Then we are all equal, and all the prophets for us are equal, and we believe in all of them. Let me challenge myself and you. How many times that Muhammad was mentioned in the Quran? Muhammad is the prophet of Islam, isn't it? Was mentioned in the Quran. Anybody can tell me? No? 4 times. How many times Moses was mentioned in the Quran? 136 times. Because he was suffering so much of spreading his message. How many times Abraham was mentioned in the Quran? 69 times. Muhammad was mentioned only 4 times or 5 times. How many times Mary, Lady Mary, was mentioned in the Quran? 34 times. It is a book of inclusivity of all the prophets of God. I'm not going to carry on saying more and more and more. And we as Muslims have to believe in all the prophets. Civilization and the historical comparison. Andalusia, have you been to Spain? Anybody have been to Spain? Don't tell me no. Alhamdulillah. Have you been to Cordoba and have been to Alhambra? We've been to the seaside, huh? To the, what do you call it? Tanning. Anyway, there was a great civilization in Europe at that time, in this area called Andalusia. Now it's called Spain. Based on mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, arts, science, technology, and has been spreading in Spain for 600 years and then taken back to Europe afterwards. So we have to recognize not only the torture, but the civilization that people have made in different parts of the world. That's what I mentioned, Inca civilization before. Those works later on entered Europe, especially through translation. Ask what kinds of libraries and scholars and science existed there and how their books came to Europe. A lot of books came from Spain, came from Andalusia to Rome, to Washington, to Paris, and stayed there. And many transcripts. This civilization. Another civilization in Turkey, in Syria, Damascus nowadays. The state started 664, was a peak of civilization at that time during this period from China to the Andalusia. Abbasid civilization 750 as well, which is in Iraq nowadays, and Andalus I mentioned before. So those people managed to create civilization. They did not just stay doing nothing. Ottoman Empire, and nowadays called Turkey, also stayed there for these few hundred years. And the question came back again, what did the Jews go for after the fall of Andalusia? They went to what we call it Turkey nowadays, or the Ottoman Empire. Quran and prophets. As I mentioned, there is a whole chapter about Lady Mary in the Quran. Whole chapter with her name. Why? It's called Surah Mary, the story of Mary, to show the devotion, purity of Mary, the miraculous birth of Jesus, peace be upon him, the message of monotheism, the stories of several prophets like Zechariah, Yahya, which is John, Abraham, Musa, Ismail, and this is the chapter of Mary. I mentioned this before. Science and knowledge in the Quran. Anybody knows astronomy? Enough? Anybody of you know what Big Bang is about? Hey guys.
Well, if you can answer this question.
Big Bang. Boom. Boom. Come on. You know it? Oh, subhanallah.
We have books and pens for people who answer a question.
Or ask a question. And you've got 3 pens there.
Big Bang. It is the recreation of universe again. I would love to have somebody to encourage me. Brother? Yes. Do you know Big Bang? Come on. Come on, tell us. Come on. Don't be shy. Encourage me. Tell them.
Big Bang was when the universe started. And stuff.
Very good.
Big Bang.
This is mentioned here in the Quran. When was that? No, not this one. Skies and earth were like one piece, like this. and then it broke in not a split of a second, in unimaginable time, and took Allah again to recreate the universe. Took him how many thousand years? 13.5.4 billion years to recreate the universe again. It's written here in chapter 30. Okay. Do we see what we see in the skies? Do we see the stars or what we see? Astronomy. Astronomy. You look like a professor. You smile like a professor. You look like, and you are two professors next to another. Okay. This also mentioned, actually, there, the astronomical side of it, what we see, not the stars, it is the place, because the star faded long time ago, millions of years ago. The place of the stars, and you can read the verses there. I will leave the presentation for you to enable you to go and search. We are here not to listen only. We are here to think, then search, and then do something. Don't just think that the teacher will give you everything. You have to think. In the good old days, I tell you something about my doctor of medicine. I was a pathologist. Pathologist, cut bodies. I cut about 210 grown-up bodies. But in my doctor of medicine, which is MD, I did 414 to 28, because I was looking at what makes spina bifida happen. The fetus was as big as this, 10, 15 centimeters. I did 400. 2 people only in UK did this kind of things. The first one was Polish consultant before me in 1973, and the second one was myself. 400 fetuses to try to dissect them from A to Z. Everything was manual, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters. Manual. Writing was manual, no computer. Cutting, doing the X-ray, developing the X-ray, actually cutting the bodies, measuring, everything was manual. You were very lucky that things that I used to do in hours, you can do it in a second. But this reducing the intellectual capability of the individual and the ability of the individual to do more and more and more. That's why my message is, don't rely too much on technology to destroy your intellectual capability. 400 cases. And I failed because my English was not very good, because I messed up with actually the references. 2 examiners. One of them was surgeon, neurosurgeon. He said, Hani al-Banna is boom, waste of time. Because I did a lot of statistical analysis, manually, not analytical on computer, manually, by hand. But the other pathologist said Hani al-Banna was most genius, because we have done something never been done in the history of man in UK before. And the Dean of the Royal College of Pathologists, which I want you to be, you look like a dean. Yeah, thank you. And the Dean of the Royal College of Pathology in Queen Elizabeth's hospital sat me down. You know what he told me, sisters and brothers, sons and daughters? I want your thesis to be in our library. You have to pass. When you learn to educate, not learn to get a degree, not learn just to get a job. Learn to be some effective individual in the society. Some people might think I'm talking nonsense. The difference between the one who is learning and having a degree and having a product in his hand to the community, and the one who laughs and take life easy will be like the difference between the sky and earth. Change maker can become a change maker unless he's learning and learned as well. For you, you have golden opportunity. Millions and hundreds of millions of people in different continents don't have the opportunity to come to school. We travel the whole world. I travel nearly 90 countries. Children love to have a classroom, love to have a pair of shoes, love to have trousers, love to have football or basketball or volleyball. And we have all this at our reach, but we do not value it. We do not value it. Coming back, what is this? Another America, as I mentioned, the Big Bang. Anyway, this is one of my mottos. Read to learn. Read to know. Read to understand. Read to comprehend. Read to be aware. Read to realize. Read to lead. You can't lead unless you read. You can't lead unless you read. Here, a homework for all of you. If you want, go to all these books. Read it. Don't depend on the ChatGPT and yes, my AI has got this for me. Oh, yeah. Waste of time. Know how to read. Why to read? What is the impact of your ability to read? What difference reading has made to you? Who discovered and developed and explained other things? This might be shocking to you. Gravity, Abu Rayhan al-Bayruni, 973-1048. Light, Al-Hazin, actually before 1038. Chemistry, Jabr ibn Hayyan, 8th century. Algebra, algorithm, you know algorithm? Algorithm, where is my telephone? Algorithm. This was actually written by Al-Khwarizmi. Al-Khwarizmi, 820. Sociology, Ibn Khaldun, 1332. Meteorology, Al-Ghazwini, 13th century. Robotics, you know the robotics that we have nowadays? Actually, robotics, Ismail Al-Jazri, 1136-1206. Statistics, Ibn Qurra, Thabit Ibn Qurra, 836. Pharmacy, Ibn Al-Baytar, actually 1197-1248. Al-Zahrawi, which is a maestro of surgery from Andalusia. Actually, it was the father of modern surgery. He lived in Andalusia there. My last slide before the last is we are not apes. We are not apes. Darwin's theory is fake. Because Allah created each one of us as a blessed individual, not as an animal. We are not animals. We are not trees. We are not insects. We are not birds. We are human beings. We are the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. No supremacy to anyone whatsoever. And this image, you can see it here, is true image. Belgium girl, her father brought her this young boy from Congo, Shall I press this video? This is still happening.
Most heartbreaking wrongful convictions that took decades to fix. In 1944, George Stinney, a 14-year-old black boy from South Carolina, was falsely accused of killing 2 white girls. With no physical evidence against him, he was arrested, interrogated without a lawyer or his parents, and pressured into a confession. His trial lasted only a few hours and was decided by an all-white jury. Just 81 days after his arrest, George was executed in the electric chair, becoming the youngest person executed in the United States in the 20th century. 70 years later, in 2014, a judge officially overturned his conviction, ruling that he never received a fair trial and was wrongfully convicted. His innocence was finally recognized, but only after his life had already been taken. 2. In 1931, 9 black teenagers were pulled off a train in Alabama and accused of assaulting 2 white women. The group became known as the Scottsboro Boys. They were between the ages of 13 and 19. Within days, they were rushed through trials with all-white juries. Despite weak and conflicting testimony, 8 of them were sentenced to death. One of the accusers later admitted she had lied. The case sparked national outrage and reached the United States Supreme Court twice, helping establish important rights such as access to legal counsel and fair jury selection. Some of the boys spent decades in prison. The last surviving defendant was not officially pardoned until 2013, more than 80 years later. 3. In 1949, a black man named Charles Greenlee, along with 3 others, was accused of raping a white woman in Florida. The case became known as the Groveland Four. Evidence was thin, but the accusations alone were enough to ignite violence. A white mob burned homes in their community. 2 of the accused were shot by law enforcement before they ever had a chance to defend themselves. The remaining men were convicted by all white juries. Years later, serious doubts emerged about the evidence and testimony used against them. In 2019, Florida officials formally pardoned the Groveland Four, acknowledging the injustice and racial prejudice that shaped their convictions. These cases are not just stories from the past. They reveal how fear, racism, and broken legal systems destroyed young lives. Some names were cleared decades later, some families received apologies, but no court ruling can return stolen childhoods, lost years, or lives taken too soon. History remembers the verdict. Justice took much longer to arrive.
Thank you. And now we'll introduce my colleague, Abdul Rashid.
Dr. Hani, I'm going to spend a few minutes on my role in Islamic belief and some of the things that Doctor was saying. One thing that came to mind, I was in Kenya, Nairobi, visiting, unfortunately, one of the world's biggest slums, or shanty towns. And just over the road were shiny buildings, skyscrapers in the city. And just the road, and then you have this shanty town. So we're talking about oppression of people and the division of wealth. I went into that camp and I met the people there, and we went to a school. The school was like a pothole full of puddles, full of stones. This was their playground. It was about as big as this room, the whole school, the playground and the school, made out of corrugated iron sheets that were rusted and bent, with wooden doors and wooden windows without glass, just to keep out the sun or to keep out the heat, with dirt on the floor, with a mud wall, with a blackboard made out of paint, black paint, no light inside the classroom. The children had, their shoes were hanging off their feet. We could see their toes. And I said to those children, why do you come to school? Some of them said, we come because at school we get a lunch. And I said, what do you have at home for breakfast? They said, we have black tea. And I said, do you have anything else? They said, no, just black tea. We come to school so that we can get the lunch that the school provides. Sometimes I send my brother in place of me so he can get the lunch, but he's not registered at the school. So they're playing tricks to get a lunch. I said to those children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the answers made me nearly fall on the floor. They said, I want to be the president of Kenya. I want to be a pilot. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. Their enthusiasm for education was like nothing I had seen. But I paint a picture of their facilities and I imagine them being in a place like this, how they would fly. How they would fly. Your only limit is your mind. SubhanAllah. So this was one of my experiences in Kenya. And I'm going to finish with this statement of Joan of Arc. I saw it in the car park when he was coming. She said, act and God will act. Work and God will work. Thank you very much.
Just bear with me, guys, for one last minute. There you go. Want to speak about this? Or?
This was my
Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah.
1 minute. My first time to the Vatican, my second time to the Vatican. I was with Scaffold before. The second time, the third time will be in May with Prince from Jordan to meet the Pope again. One day you dream to meet the Pope. Is that right, sir? You don't want? Anyway,
And then there's the other picture.
thank you. Thank you.
Right.
I'm very excited, very motivated, very empowered by you. I came to take the energy. Now I can carry on. We are fasting, alhamdulillah, today. No food, no water, nothing else. Till about 5:30?
Until about 5:40. Yes.
5:40, inshallah. All the best for you, and all the best for life for you, and all the best of future for you. Inshallah. Ameen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hani Al-Banna. Thank you, Mr. Rashid Campbell. Can I have a round of applause, please? Thank you.